On the distant jungle world of Haruun Kal, an infant named Mace Windu was marked by a small scar from a local inoculation, a reminder he would carry throughout his life. Yet the true mark within him was unseen, an extraordinary connection to the Force. At only a few years old, he was brought to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, where towering spires became his home and the Jedi his new family. From the start, he was different. Where younglings laughed at Yoda's playful lessons, Mace stood solemn, unable to grasp the old master's humor. Yoda, intrigued, saw promise in the child's intensity. The path of a Jedi was never gentle, and Mace's journey was already marked by struggle. Yoda's quiet reminder echoed again and again: let go, trust the Force. But the boy wrestled with absolutes, never content with shades of gray. This made him formidable, but also dangerous, and his teachers worried his conviction could eclipse serenity. Each test sharpened his spirit, forging him into more than a learner, into someone destined for greatness. The galaxy had yet to know his name, but the roots of a legend had been planted in silence. As Mace grew within the temple, lessons hardened into trials. When time came for every youngling to craft their first weapon, his test revealed both his struggle and his destiny. He had found a rare amethyst kyber crystal, but his every attempt to bind it into a lightsaber failed. His frustration mounted until the ancient droid Professor Huyang guided him gently, telling him the pieces never truly needed to be forced together, they were already whole. The lesson struck deep. Power, Mace realized, was not taken by force, but harmonized. At last, his blade came to life, glowing in violet light that would forever mark him as unique among the Jedi. Though respected, he was distant. His peers often found him intimidating, his focus relentless, his commitment unshakable. Yet beneath the stern exterior burned a restless hunger to understand right and wrong, good and evil. His growing mastery, coupled with this desire for clarity, set him apart from all others. In the violet glow of his new weapon, a path revealed itself. His destiny would not be in following every rule, but in interpreting the Force itself. In the years that followed, Mace's training deepened under Master Teresa. Their sparring sessions were known for their intensity, each clash like a conversation between blade and belief. During one relentless bout, clarity filled him, and for the first time he bested his teacher. Sa did not scold, she bowed in respect. The moment proved a turning point, for it was no longer only strength that defined him, but precision of will. He meditated where others played, trained while others rested, always chasing a vision of truth in the Force. And the Force revealed something rare within him, the ability to sense shatterpoints, fragile threads in time where choices determined destiny. It was both gift and burden. His devotion drew others to him, for though quiet, his conviction carried weight. A leader without seeking leadership, he inspired even those who disagreed with his severity. Yet within, his fire threatened to consume him. Learning to temper it without extinguishing it became his greatest challenge. For all his mastery, the question of balance between justice and vengeance grew louder. A question the Force itself seemed intent on testing in the days ahead. That test arrived when Mace became Padawan to Master Cyslin Myr. On a mission to the plague-stricken world of Mathis, they encountered Drew, a false prophet twisting Jedi teachings for profit and control. Rage boiled in Mace as he saw suffering exploited, children and parents deceived by a liar in stolen robes. When Drew fled, Mace pursued, cutting through his guards, his blade ready to strike. Holding the man helpless with the Force, his words came sharp and cold. You would twist something beautiful into something vile. In that moment, anger surged, and the desire for swift justice burned within him. Lightsaber raised, he nearly struck down the unarmed deceiver. Only Myr's steady voice broke through, reminding him that punishment was not his alone to deliver. Justice must never become vengeance. Lowering his weapon, he stood torn, the lesson seared into him. Faith, he realized, was fragile, and its abuse demanded action, but action tempered by wisdom. The moment on Mathas carved itself into his path, setting a rule he would struggle with forever. Justice must be guided by restraint, even when the heart cried for retribution. Years later, as a Jedi Knight, Mace faced trials that would expand his legend. Disguised as a guard, he infiltrated a prison where corruption spread through hidden trades. Evidence in hand, he escaped impossible odds, his mastery of stealth and force revealing a sharp mind alongside martial strength. Another mission brought him against smugglers trading dangerous technology. There he spoke of choice, explaining he had not chosen this life consciously, but he had never looked back. The Force had chosen, and he accepted it. From these years came his greatest creation, Vaapad, a new lightsaber form unlike any other. Instead of denying the darkness within, he forged a way to channel it, transmuting fury into light, battle thrill into clarity. It was not surrender to shadow, but transformation. This innovation defined him as more than warrior. He became an innovator, shaping the very philosophy of the Jedi through combat. His missions earned respect, his dedication earned recognition, and whispers within the Order spoke of a future leader. Each step revealed not just a soldier, but a guardian shaped by fire and tempered by wisdom, ready for trials greater still. Mace Windu's hunger to understand good and evil carried him forward, each lesson at the temple carving him into something more than a student. The balance between power and wisdom, strength and compassion became the puzzle of his life. His peers saw absolutes where he saw convictions, and his refusal to bend made him formidable. Yet the purple blade that would one day symbolize his identity was still distant, the wars and betrayals of the future still beyond sight. His path shifted as he left behind the title of youngling and stepped into the role of Padawan. Under Master Cyslin, his training grew harsher, his limits pushed. Their battles in the temple were more than sparring, they were revelations of his growing potential. When he finally overcame her in combat, the temple whispered of his achievement. But power was not his only gift. The Force revealed shatter points to him, fragile hinges where fate turned. This vision, rare among Jedi, demanded discipline. Mace embraced it, shaping not just his blade but his soul into something destined to stand unshaken even as darker storms approached. Master Cylin's lessons turned into meditations of steel and light. Each strike of the blade became a question, each parry an answer. For Mace Windu, combat was no longer training but dialogue, the Force flowing in every movement. His amethyst crystal pulsed with resonance, its rare energy teaching him patience and precision. Though his fellow younglings sought amusement and play, Mace's hours were consumed by practice and silent reflection. His distance from them grew, but his presence commanded respect. The Force spoke to him of moments where destiny could fracture, glimpses of futures hanging by threads. These visions unsettled him, yet strengthened his resolve to master himself. He was a leader even in silence, others drawn to his intensity, though they did not always share his rigid view. Beneath the calm, fire roared. To temper that fire without extinguishing it became his greatest trial, shaping his future path. From this crucible rose a Jedi devoted not only to the code but to truth itself, a seeker whose destiny stretched far beyond the walls of the temple. The time came for Mace to leave behind the certainty of the temple and follow his master into the wider galaxy. Jedi Master Cyslin Myr guided him, seeing in his fire both promise and danger. Together they journeyed to Mathis, where plague had left the people vulnerable to deception. In the ruins of despair, a false prophet named Drew claimed Jedi power, promising healing in exchange for worship and servitude. Mace's anger burned at the sight of suffering twisted into control. His master warned him, "A fire burns within you, Padawan. My task is to help you temper it." Inside the temple, they confronted Drew, who hid behind his followers. Chaos erupted, and the deceiver fled. Mace pursued, cutting down guards, blaster bolts searing his arm. Cornering Drew, he held him frozen in the Force. "You would twist something beautiful into something vile," Mace declared. Blade raised high. In that instant, justice and vengeance collided within him, and the decision threatened to consume him. The purple blade hovered above the false prophet's throat, and silence fell. The people looked on, the weight of their faith pressing against the choice. Drew trembled, caught in the grip of the Force, his life hanging on the edge of a single strike. Mace's eyes blazed with fury, the temptation of judgment heavy in his chest. His words cut sharp. "You will never harm another soul." But before the blow could fall, Master Myr stepped forward, her calm voice breaking the storm. She reminded him that the law, not a single Jedi's wrath, must decide fate. Justice must never bend into vengeance. The young Padawan trembled, torn between the fire of action and the discipline of restraint. Slowly, the blade lowered. Drew would live, but the lesson etched itself into Mace's heart. Faith, he realized, was sacred, and to pervert it was a crime that demanded defense, but always with wisdom as guide. On Mathis, he learned that even power must kneel before principle. The mission ended, but the lesson remained. Under Cyslin Myr, Mace learned to channel his fierce convictions into guardianship, not retribution. The suffering of the people haunted him, yet he carried from Mathas a sharpened understanding. To be Jedi meant more than following rules, it meant standing as protector of the weak. His master's words carved his path, guiding him toward balance between his burning sense of justice and the restraint demanded by the code. In time, he became a knight, and with that rank came new missions, new trials. He unmasked corruption in the Devi prison, disguising himself as a guard to bring down its warden. He faced smugglers dealing in secrets that could unbalance the Republic. Through these tests, he spoke of choice, revealing that he had never sought another life. The Force had chosen, and he accepted it fully. And from these years came his greatest creation, Vaapad, a form that transformed darkness into light, battle into clarity. It was the culmination of his struggle, a philosophy that made him both warrior and innovator, preparing him for the storms to come. Beneath the calm discipline, Mace Windu carried a fire that could either forge or destroy him. His strict devotion to Jedi tradition marked him as unyielding, yet his peers recognized in him a leader who inspired without seeking command. When he spoke, even those who disagreed listened. The Force surged through him with growing clarity, granting visions of fragile moments where the galaxy's path could fracture. These glimpses of possible futures unsettled him, but they steeled his determination. Each lesson, each triumph, each failure became a step toward his ultimate goal: to be a Jedi Knight worthy of the highest ideals. As whispers spread in the temple of which Master might claim him, Mace remained focused on daily discipline. For him, status mattered less than truth. And when the time came, it was Master Cyslin Myr who chose him, recognizing both his strength and the storm that threatened to consume him. Her words echoed as they departed. "A fire burns within you, Padawan. It is my duty to help you temper it." With those words, his journey into the galaxy truly began. The world of Mathis lay stricken, its people ravaged by plague and preyed upon by false hope. In this suffering, a man named Drew rose as a self-proclaimed prophet, twisting Jedi teachings into tools of manipulation. Dispatched with his master, Cyslin Myr, Mace Windu walked among the sick and the desperate, fury burning within him at the sight of faith exploited. Myr's warning tempered him, yet the fire was not easily contained. Inside the temple, Drew's followers surrounded him, chanting, pleading, demanding healing from their deceiver. Chaos erupted as the Jedi revealed his fraud. Drew fled, guarded by mercenaries, but Mace pursued, cutting through resistance despite a wound seared into his arm. He cornered Drew at last, the false prophet trembling under his gaze. Holding him bound in the Force, Mace's voice thundered, "You would twist something beautiful into something vile. You drained these people of hope while staining the name of the Jedi." His lightsaber lifted, ready to end the deception forever, the line between justice and vengeance blurring in the purple glow. The chamber stilled as the young Padawan's blade hovered inches from Drew's throat. Anger surged through Mace, demanding swift judgment, the cries of the suffering echoing in his mind. Drew whimpered, trapped by invisible bonds, his life in the balance. "You will never harm another soul," Mace vowed, his weapon poised to strike. But then came his master's voice, calm yet firm, cutting through the storm. Cyslin Myr reminded him that justice must not be carried out by passion, that true judgment belonged to law and order. For a moment, Mace trembled, torn between fire and restraint. Slowly, with visible effort, the blade lowered. The false prophet would face trial, not execution. In that moment, Mace learned the most painful lesson of his life, the difference between justice and vengeance. His fury had not vanished, but it had been shaped into discipline. Faith, he realized, was sacred, and while it demanded defense, it must be guarded with wisdom. On Mathis, the foundation of his philosophy was carved deeper into stone. The mission left scars, not only on Mace's body, but within his spirit. Under Cyslin Myr's guidance, he began to understand that power, untempered, could corrupt as easily as it could protect. His anger at injustice had to be honed, forged into a weapon that defended rather than destroyed. He embraced the role of guardian of the innocent, his conviction now shaped by wisdom. With each trial, his mastery grew, and in time, he was knighted. As a Jedi Knight, he walked into shadows of corruption, exposing prison wardens who trafficked secrets and dismantling smugglers who endangered the Republic. He stood unwavering, even when temptation called him to easier paths, and in these years, his fire gave birth to innovation. He forged Vaapad, a lightsaber form that allowed him to channel inner darkness into light. It was more than combat, it was philosophy, a way to transform fury into focus. From student to knight, his journey was no longer only about power, but about balance, a balance he alone had begun to define. Vaapad reshaped him, not just as a fighter, but as a thinker. For Mace Windu, the Force was no longer divided into simple light and dark. It was a spectrum, a current to be understood and mastered, not denied. With his blade, he carved clarity from chaos. With his mind, he turned weakness into strength. Missions tested him, infiltrating prisons, confronting criminals, navigating treacherous diplomacy. Yet he sought no recognition. Every victory served the same purpose: to preserve justice and balance across the galaxy. Under Yoda's guidance, his wisdom deepened, his skills expanded. He learned languages, disguises, even art, each new tool sharpening his versatility. Yet above all, Vaapad defined him. To embrace the thrill of battle without surrendering to anger, to channel the storm without being consumed, this was his path. The galaxy began to take note. The Order began to whisper. He was not only a knight, but something more. A warrior philosopher, a guardian whose fire had been forged into purpose. Step by step, he was becoming the champion the Jedi would one day depend upon. The confrontation on Mathis left Mace Windu scarred both in body and spirit. The burn on his arm from Drew's blaster faded with time, but the lesson endured. Holding his lightsaber above the false prophet's throat, he had nearly crossed the line, but Master Myr's intervention pulled him back. Justice and vengeance were divided by a razor's edge, and he now knew how easily conviction could turn destructive. Under Myr's guidance, he learned to redirect his fire into strength rather than weakness. He came to see the role of a Jedi, not as a keeper of rules alone, but as a guardian of truth, a protector of the vulnerable. This period deepened his empathy, his ability to sense the pain of others through the Force, and his frustration at injustice carved itself into purpose. The mission to Mathas became a turning point, defining his philosophy, that faith was beautiful and worth defending, but always through wisdom. When at last he rose to the rank of knight, he carried these lessons as armor, prepared to face the galaxy not with unchecked fire, but with tempered resolve. As a knight, Mace Windu faced trials that tested not only his strength but his intellect. Assigned to investigate Mattis Kodo, the corrupt warden of the Devi prison, he disguised himself as a guard and infiltrated the fortress. Every step demanded stealth, patience, and precision. Inside, he uncovered the trade of skeleton keys that allowed prisoners to escape for profit. With skill and daring, he gathered evidence, confronted the warden, and brought him down. But the mission did not end there. He pursued droids programmed to deliver stolen keys to criminal buyers, using a skiff pilot compelled by the Force to aid him. Together, they disabled the machines and ended the operation. Returning to Coruscant, he reported his success to Master Yoda, yet rest never came. Another task awaited: recover the dangerous formula held by the smuggler Azita Cruz. Each mission tested different facets of him: warrior, investigator, diplomat. Piece by piece, his reputation grew, shaping him into one of the Order's most capable knights. The case of Azita Cruz revealed another side of Mace Windu's path. She offered a powerful starship formula to both the Jedi and the underworld, her only demand being credits and safe passage. Cornered, she challenged Mace with questions. Had he chosen this life, or was it chosen for him? His answer came without hesitation. He admitted he had not selected this path, but he refused to wonder about lives he might have led. To dwell on such thoughts was pointless, even dangerous. He accepted his destiny fully, convinced that the Force had placed him where he belonged. This conviction revealed the heart of his character. He was not a man of doubt, but of purpose, never wandering from the course the Jedi had set for him. The mission ended in success, but the deeper victory lay in clarity. His life was not about what might have been, but what was service to the Jedi, service to the Republic, service to the balance of the Force. It was during these years that Mace Windu forged something that would change the Jedi Order forever. He created Vaapad, the seventh form of lightsaber combat. Unlike the other forms, it did not deny the inner darkness every warrior felt. Instead, it channeled it into light. The thrill of battle, the fury of conflict, the fire of conviction all became fuel for clarity rather than corruption. It was a dangerous path, one only he could master, but it elevated him beyond warrior into innovator. Vaapad was not merely a technique, it was philosophy, a state of mind, a transformation. Through it, he accepted the storm within himself without being consumed by it. Under Yoda's watch, he refined his craft, tested his limits, and shaped his identity. In this form, his purple blade found its true meaning, blazing as both weapon and symbol. The Order began to see him not just as a knight, but as something more, a figure whose mastery of body, mind, and spirit set him apart. As his skills expanded, so too did his responsibilities. He learned the arts of slicing and starfighter piloting, infiltrating facilities with precision. He studied languages, performed in Rhodian theater, and mastered disguises convincing enough to deceive even other Jedi. These talents, though seemingly trivial, proved invaluable in missions where subtlety mattered as much as combat. More importantly, his philosophy of the Force deepened. He no longer saw it as light versus dark, but as a current that could be transformed. Darkness was not to be ignored, but transmuted into strength, just as he had done with Vaapad. Each mission, whether dismantling smugglers, uncovering corruption, or negotiating peace, added to his growing reputation. Yet he never sought glory. Every act served the same purpose: justice, balance, and the preservation of the Jedi way. With every success, the whispers grew louder. He was destined for more, not by ambition, but by the undeniable weight of his actions. Step by step, he was becoming the champion the Order would one day call its own. Azita Cruz tested Mace Windu in ways that no duel ever could. The smuggler, cunning and fearless, offered the dangerous formula to the highest bidder, indifferent to the devastation it might cause. When she and Mace found themselves fleeing off-world together, she pierced him with a simple but sharp question. Had he chosen this life? He answered with certainty. No, he had not volunteered, but the Force had chosen him. To wonder about other paths was a futile and even perilous exercise. He stood where he was meant to stand. That conviction revealed a heart forged not by chance but by purpose. Around this time, Mace created Vaapad, the seventh form of lightsaber combat. Unlike others, it did not deny the shadows within, but transformed them. The thrill of combat became clarity. The fire of battle became light. It was not surrender to rage, but mastery of it, a razor edge only he could walk. In Vaapad, his purple blade burned brighter than ever, its glow an emblem of philosophy as much as skill. Mace Windu was no longer only a knight. He had become an innovator, shaping the very essence of the Jedi way. Under Master Yoda's guidance, Mace expanded his training into unexpected realms. He learned slicing and starfighter piloting, slipping through systems with silent precision. He infiltrated fortified compounds, mastered disguises, convincing enough to fool even Jedi, and embraced arts such as Rhodian theater, lessons that deepened his versatility. On missions, these skills turned potential failure into victory, proving that subtlety could be as powerful as strength, yet his greatest growth was internal. Through Vaapad, he discovered that the Jedi path was not about avoiding darkness, but transforming it. This realization made him a figure apart, unconventional yet undeniably effective. Criminal networks fell, stolen artifacts were recovered, and disputes resolved with his sharp blend of diplomacy and force. Every triumph built his reputation, though he sought no glory. His achievements were not for himself, but for balance, for justice, for the galaxy. Each mission added weight to his presence. Each innovation made whispers grow louder. He was no longer just a knight completing assignments. He was becoming a cornerstone of the Order, the champion the Council would one day rely upon. The years of unrelenting missions laid the foundation for Mace Windu's ascension. His reputation soared, not by self-promotion, but by the undeniable results of his discipline. He embodied strength tempered by wisdom, intensity guided by restraint. His creation of Vaapad had already set him apart, and his record of service proved him indispensable. When at last the call came, it was not merely an honor but a turning point. He was elevated to the Jedi High Council. The distinction came during a time of turbulence, when corruption spread across the Republic and the Jedi faced pressures unseen for centuries. But the elevation also carried the weight of strained friendships. Alongside Count Dooku, once his ally, Mace confronted truths that tested them both. Their paths, once aligned, would diverge forever. For Mace, the council seat was more than a chair among peers. It was a mantle of guardianship over the Order itself. He became not only its champion but its voice of tradition, standing firm as storms gathered. It was the beginning of an era where his decisions would shape the fate of the galaxy. On Raxus Secundus, fate bound Mace Windu and Count Dooku in a mission that would test the fibers of their bond. Jedi Master Katri had been slain, and the Council sent them to recover her remains. Mace clung to protocol, insisting they follow orders to the letter. Dooku, driven by suspicion, pressed to investigate deeper. Their clash revealed both respect and tension, Dooku admiring Windu's dedication but bridling at his rigidity. Together they uncovered betrayal within Senator Larrick's own guard, their discovery erupting into violence. Amid the chaos, the senator fell, and the truth of corruption emerged. Upon their return, Windu learned he would be offered Katri's vacant seat on the council. Dooku, wary, questioned the timing, even suggesting that Windu had foreknowledge. Mace denied it, reminding him that it was Dooku's choices that had led to death. The rift widened, their philosophies diverging. For Windu, the seat became a burden as much as an honor, anchoring him to the preservation of Jedi tradition at a time when both galaxy and Order strained under growing shadows. The Council years began with trials that would test Mace Windu's resolve. When Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi returned from Naboo with warnings of the Sith's return, Windu's skepticism showed, yet he pledged the full might of the Jedi to uncover the truth. More troubling was Qui-Gon's claim of the boy Anakin Skywalker, a child of unprecedented potential, possibly the chosen one. When Mace met Anakin, his reservations hardened. He saw the boy's attachment to his mother and doubted his suitability. The Council denied the request to train him, Windu pointing to his age as a critical flaw. But destiny had its way. With Qui-Gon's death, Obi-Wan was granted permission to train the boy, a decision that left Mace uneasy. His doubts about Anakin would linger for years, shaping their bond with quiet tension. During these early council years, Windu's role expanded beyond the chamber. He intervened in disputes, unmasked corruption, and knighted young Jedi. Yet in the shadows of triumphs, he felt the creeping weight of corruption in the Republic. The galaxy shifted, and Mace Windu, firm in his tradition, prepared for storms yet unseen. On Raxus Secundus, Mace Windu and Count Dooku walked a path that would test their bond and reveal their differences. Sent to recover the remains of Jedi Master Katri, Windu insisted on strict adherence to their mandate, while Dooku pressed for deeper investigation, doubting Senator Larrick's tale of an ambush. Dooku admired Windu's discipline, yet bristled at his rigidity. Together they uncovered the betrayal of Katri by Larrick's own guards, the revelation exploding into violence. Fighting side by side, they struck down the corrupt officers, but in the chaos, the senator was killed. Returning to Coruscant, Windu learned he would be offered Katri's seat on the High Council. Dooku, suspicious of timing, questioned whether Windu had known beforehand. Windu denied it, reminding him that it was Dooku's decisions that led to the senator's death. The rift between them deepened. Elevated to the council, Windu established himself as a guardian of Jedi traditions, his authority rising even as the galaxy slid into unrest. It was the beginning of an era where his choices would shape not only the Order but the fate of the Republic itself. The Naboo crisis tested Mace Windu as a new council member. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi returned with grim news. The Sith, long thought extinct, might have resurfaced. Windu's skepticism showed, yet he promised the full resources of the Order would be devoted to uncovering the truth. More troubling was Jinn's discovery of a slave boy, Anakin Skywalker, whose connection to the Force was unparalleled. Qui-Gon declared the child might be the chosen one. When Windu met Anakin, despite the boy's remarkable power, his doubts hardened. He saw the weight of emotional attachments, particularly to his mother, and judged them dangerous. He is too old, Windu declared, warning against training him. The council denied the request, but destiny defied them. With Qui-Gon's death, Obi-Wan was granted leave to train the boy. The decision left Windu uneasy, his doubts lingering like a shadow. In gardens and halls, he often conferred with Yoda, sensing disturbances that defied explanation. It was a time of shifting currents, where prophecy and peril entwined, and where mistrust of Anakin would take root in Windu's heart. In these same years, Windu's duties took him beyond the chamber and into disputes across the Republic. On Onato, he was tasked with assessing Padawan Kurt Junda's choices during a clash between rival monk factions. While acknowledging that rash actions could sometimes yield unexpected success, Windu emphasized the Jedi commitment to measured response. When conflict escalated between corporate powers and local forces, Windu personally intervened with Luminara Unduli, Maslow Scaff, and Oppo Rancisis. Together, they exposed corruption and restored order, forging a new joint government. In recognition of Kurt Junda's courage, Windu himself presided over her knighting. These moments revealed another side of him, not only warrior, but diplomat, mentor, and judge. Yet beneath these successes, unease grew. Watching corruption spread through the Senate, he grew increasingly wary of the Republic's leaders. To him, the Jedi were servants of peace, not tools of politics, yet the lines blurred with each year. His suspicion of political motives sharpened, a foresight that would one day prove justified, though few yet understood the weight of his caution. Qui-Gon Jinn's death on Naboo deepened the crisis. The Council, reversing its stance, permitted Obi-Wan Kenobi to train Anakin Skywalker. Though bound by the decision, Windu's concerns did not fade. He questioned the boy's ability to release attachments and feared the seeds of conflict. During Jinn's funeral, he and Yoda faced a darker revelation. The Sith had survived, guided by the ancient rule of two, a master and an apprentice. But which had Obi-Wan slain master or apprentice? The question hung unanswered, heavy as a storm. In Windu's heart, suspicion hardened into vigilance. Anakin was trained, but he would always be watched with wary eyes. For Windu, this moment captured the fragility of prophecy and the danger of faith misplaced. The return of the Sith meant the Jedi Order now walked on the edge of shadows, and as a guardian of its traditions, he resolved to shield it from forces unseen. His voice on the council became firmer, his conviction sharper, even as the galaxy whispered of conflicts yet to come. Change came swiftly with discovery on Kamino. Obi-Wan Kenobi's investigation revealed a hidden army, hundreds of thousands of clone soldiers, with more in production. The commission traced back to Jedi Master Cyslin Myr, long dead, and its secrets shook the Order. The message reached Windu and Yoda in Chancellor Palpatine's office, even as Count Dooku gathered a droid army on Geonosis. War loomed. The Senate granted Palpatine emergency powers, and the Republic marched toward open conflict. Yoda traveled to Kamino to take command of the clones, while Windu led a strike team of Jedi to rescue Kenobi, Anakin, and Padme Amidala. In the Geonosian arena, Windu confronted Jango Fett. The famed bounty hunter fought with unmatched skill, but Windu's blade cut precise and final. Fett fell, his death witnessed by his son, Boba. Though Jedi reinforcements arrived with the clone army and turned the tide, the victory was bitter. Many Jedi lay slain, and Dooku escaped, revealing his fall to the dark side. For Windu, the truth was undeniable. The Jedi were no longer only peacekeepers. They were generals. In a war that would test everything they believed, the funeral of Qui-Gon Jinn left the Jedi Council unsettled. For Mace Windu, the revelation that the Sith had indeed returned was undeniable. Yoda reminded him of the rule of two, that only a master and an apprentice could exist. Which, then, had Obi-Wan struck down on Naboo, the question carried heavy implications, and Windu's doubts about the path ahead deepened. Soon afterward, Obi-Wan's investigation uncovered something that shook the Order to its core: a clone army on Kamino, commissioned under the name of a Jedi long dead, Sifo Dyas. With Count Dooku assembling his droid legions, war became inevitable. When the Senate granted Chancellor Palpatine emergency powers, the Jedi were thrust into battle. Windu led a strike team to Geonosis to rescue Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme. In the arena, he faced the legendary Jango Fett. With one precise strike, Windu cut him down, the act witnessed by Fett's young son, Boba. Victory came only with the arrival of Yoda and the clone army, but the cost was staggering. Many Jedi fell, and Dooku escaped. Windu now faced the truth. The Jedi had become generals, not only guardians. The war's first campaigns forced Windu to adapt quickly. No longer could he act only as a keeper of peace, he was a commander. On the covert mission to Hisrich, he assembled a team of Jedi, Kit Fisto, skilled in combat, Proset Dibs, strong in the Force, and Risa Mano, an expert engineer. Resources were thin, clones unavailable, yet the mission could not be ignored. Before departing, Windu confided his unease to Yoda, shaken by the loss of so many Jedi on Geonosis. Yoda's answer was simple: trust the Force. On Hisrich, they uncovered separatists led by a mercenary droid exploiting the planet's energy. When Proset Dibs questioned whether the Jedi had abandoned their true path by waging war, Windu stood firm. "We are knights," he declared. "This is what we are meant to be doing." His leadership balanced necessity with compassion. When the native people were threatened, he shielded them, even at the expense of tactical advantage. Through battle and diplomacy, he proved that even in war, Jedi principles could endure. Windu's command of the 187th Battalion and the elite 187th Legion soon became legend. Leading from the front, he inspired clones with his courage and tactical brilliance. Commander Pons and his men trusted him completely, not only as a general, but as a leader who valued their lives. In battle, Windu often used the Force to save troopers from certain death, treating them as comrades, not expendable tools. His strategies maximized the strengths of both Jedi and soldiers, creating a unity rare in the chaos of war. Yet even as victories mounted, the burden weighed heavily. The Jedi, once peacekeepers, were now warriors in a galaxy consumed by conflict. Windu wrestled with questions of justice and necessity, determined to uphold Jedi values while adapting to grim realities. To him, the clones were not just soldiers of the Republic, but partners in preserving peace. This philosophy guided his command, shaping an army that fought with purpose. His presence on the battlefield became a beacon, proof that the Jedi could still lead with principle even as war threatened to consume their identity. The war reached Ryloth, where separatist leader Wat Tambor's occupation oppressed the Twi'lek people. Windu led the liberation alongside Obi-Wan and Anakin. The battle required not only strength but diplomacy. Cham Syndulla, leader of the Freedom Fighters, distrusted the Republic, fearing they would replace one tyrant with another. Windu negotiated with patience, promising that the Republic's forces would leave once liberation was secured. In return, Syndulla swore not to seize political power for himself. Their fragile alliance led to victory. Windu personally captured Tambor, stopping him from destroying the capital in desperation. For the Twi'lek people, this day became legend. They sang of the Hammer of Ryloth, honoring Windu's courage. In the aftermath, he saved a young Twi'lek named Numa, showing that compassion was as vital as strength. The campaign cemented his reputation not only as a warrior, but as a diplomat who could bridge divine. On Ryloth, Windu proved that the Jedi could still be champions of justice, earning respect that would endure in song long after the war had ended. Not all battles were fought against armies. On Malastare, the Republic tested an electroproton bomb meant to disable droids. Instead, it awakened a colossal creature, the Zillo Beast. The Malastarians demanded its death, fearing destruction, but Windu opposed them. He believed it might be the last of its kind and deserved protection. His stance put him at odds with both the local leaders and Chancellor Palpatine. When the beast was subdued, Palpatine ordered it transported to Coruscant for study. Windu warned that this was a mistake, that such power could not be contained. His warning proved true when the creature broke free, wreaking havoc on the capital until it was destroyed. For Windu, the tragedy was more than loss of life. It revealed how far the Republic and its Chancellor had strayed, willing to sacrifice anything for control. The Zillo Beast's death marked a fracture between Jedi principle and political will. Windu stood as a voice of restraint and wisdom, yet he saw clearly how little his counsel mattered to those in power, deepening his mistrust of Palpatine's growing shadow. On Ryloth, Windu's leadership was tested in both battle and diplomacy. The Separatist blockade had been broken by Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, clearing the way for Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi to lead the ground assaults. Yet, to take the capital, they needed allies. Cham Syndulla, the Twi'lek resistance leader, distrusted the Republic, fearing one occupation would replace another. Windu negotiated with patience and resolve, securing a pact. The Republic would withdraw after liberation, and Syndulla would not seize political power. With this alliance, the assault began. Windu himself captured Wat Tambor, stopping him from detonating the city. The victory was remembered in song as the Hammer of Ryloth, and Windu's compassion shone when he saved young Numa from certain death. To the Twi'lek people, he was not only a general but a protector. On Ryloth, Windu proved that the Jedi could still stand as defenders of justice, their strength tempered by mercy. The battle on Malastare revealed a danger no one had foreseen. The Republic tested its electroproton bomb, hoping to disable separatist droids. Instead, it awakened the Zillo Beast, a towering relic of an age-long past. Local leaders demanded its destruction, but Windu stood firm. He believed it might be the last of its kind, a living piece of history, and deserved protection. His stance put him at odds with both the Malastarians and Chancellor Palpatine. Though the creature was subdued, Palpatine ordered it transported to Coruscant for study, ignoring Windu's warnings. His fears proved true when the beast broke free, rampaging through the capital. Only through destruction was it stopped. For Windu, it was a bitter victory, a lesson in the cost of disregarded wisdom. He saw more clearly than ever that the Chancellor valued power over principle, a truth that would haunt the Republic as shadows deepen. The war brought danger to Windu in deeply personal ways. Boba Fett, the son of Jango, sought vengeance for his father's death. Disguised and determined, the boy infiltrated the Jedi cruiser Endurance, sabotaging it to kill Windu. The ship was destroyed, clones and Jedi thrown into chaos. Windu survived, but the plot revealed the depth of the boy's hatred. Later, captured by bounty hunters, Fett refused to relent, clinging to vengeance as his only path. Windu, though the target of his rage, showed restraint. He did not seek retribution, but focused on rescuing the hostages the hunters had taken. His choice reflected the lesson from Mathis years before. Justice must never bend into vengeance. Though the boy's hatred remained, Windu's refusal to answer in kind proved the difference between Jedi discipline and the consuming cycle of revenge. The bombing of the Jedi Temple marked one of the darkest chapters of the war. An explosion tore through the hangar, killing 6 Jedi. Windu and Yoda appointed Anakin and Ahsoka to lead the investigation. Evidence turned against Ahsoka, framing her for the crime and the death of the suspect she pursued. The Council, under immense pressure, debated her fate. Admiral Tarkin demanded her expulsion and trial in military court. Windu, troubled but pragmatic, agreed. In the Hall of Judgment, he delivered the Council's decision. Ahsoka was expelled from the Order. His words weighed heavily, but he believed refusal would be seen as defiance of the Republic. When Anakin later exposed Barriss Offee as the true culprit, Windu joined the Council in offering Ahsoka reinstatement, even promotion. Yet their apology came too late. Ahsoka's trust was broken, and she walked away. For Windu, it was a sobering reminder that choices made in the name of necessity could carry irreversible consequences. As the war dragged into its final phase, Windu's doubts grew sharper. On Anaxis, his 187th Battalion fought alongside Anakin's forces against Admiral Trench. When Rex and Cody suggested that their strategies were being predicted by the enemy, Windu authorized their covert investigation. On the battlefield, he faced wave after wave of droids, offering them surrender. I am Mace Windu of the Jedi Order. At this point in the Clone War, I have destroyed over 100,000 of you. Lay down your arms, and you will be reprogrammed for a better purpose. The droids refused, and battle consumed them. Soon after, Windu uncovered darker truths. Investigating Sifo Dyas's death, the Council learned that the clone army had been commissioned by their enemies. They chose secrecy, keeping the revelation from Palpatine. Windu's mistrust of the Chancellor deepened. He saw the shadow tightening and warned the Council of the danger of placing Anakin too close to Palpatine. His warnings went unheard, yet they would prove prophetic as the war neared its end. The destruction of the Zillo Beast on Coruscant left Mace Windu troubled. He had warned the Council and the Chancellor that bringing the creature to the capital was reckless, and when it escaped, his fears proved correct. Its death weighed on him as a reminder of ignored wisdom. Soon, another challenge struck from the shadows. Boba Fett, consumed by vengeance for his father, orchestrated an assassination attempt. The young boy destroyed the Star Destroyer Endurance, nearly killing Windu and many Jedi aboard. Though he survived, Windu faced the boy's wrath directly. Yet instead of pursuing retribution, he focused on saving the hostages taken by Fett's bounty hunter allies. His choice reflected restraint, a refusal to let vengeance dictate action. Even as enemies multiplied, Windu's discipline held firm. The bombing of the Jedi Temple tested Windu's judgment like few moments before. An explosion ripped through the hangar, killing 6 Jedi Knights. Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano were tasked with the investigation. But when evidence mounted against Ahsoka herself, the Council faced impossible pressure. Admiral Tarkin demanded she be expelled and tried by the Republic. Windu, deeply troubled but pragmatic, agreed. In the Chamber of Judgment, he delivered the verdict. Ahsoka was expelled from the Order. His words carried sorrow, yet he believed refusal would break the fragile trust between Jedi and Senate. Later, when Anakin revealed Barriss Offee as the true culprit, Windu joined the Council in offering Ahsoka reinstatement, even promotion. He told her the ordeal had made her stronger, but it was too late. Her trust shattered. She walked away. Windu's decision, meant to preserve order, instead deepened the cracks, threatening the Jedi from within. The war's final campaigns brought Windu back to the front. On Anaxes, a Republic stronghold under siege by Admiral Trench, he fought alongside Anakin Skywalker's Legion. When Rex and Cody suspected the enemy was predicting their moves, Windu authorized them to investigate. On the battlefield, surrounded by droids, he issued an offer. I am General Mace Windu of the Jedi Order. At this point in the Clone War, I have destroyed over 100,000 of you. Lay down your arms and you will be reprogrammed for a better purpose. The droids refused, and combat resumed in full force. Working with Clone Force 99, the Bad Batch, Windu coordinated daring maneuvers that broke the Separatist advantage. Victory came, but his doubts about the war deepened. Secrets uncovered about Cyslin revealed the clone army had been commissioned by the Jedi's enemies. The Council chose silence, even from Palpatine. For Windu, mistrust of the Chancellor grew into conviction. Darkness surrounded him, and Anakin's closest to him was dangerous. On Bardana, Windu faced another test when Queen Julia vanished along with her priests. Despite the planet's suspicion of Jedi, he investigated and uncovered the Frangal cult's role. This led him to confront Mother Talzin of the Night Sisters. When she boasted her magic surpassed his skill, Windu dismissed it. Magic is only an illusion. Their battle was fierce, Talzin seeking to draw upon ancient energies that could shift the war's balance. Windu's mastery of the Force in Vaapad overcame her, preventing her ritual and restoring balance to Bardana. Yet victory did not erase the deeper unease. Investigating Cyslin death confirmed his fears. The clone army was the work of their enemies. The Council concealed the truth, deepening the divide between Jedi and Senate. Windu's suspicion of Palpatine became certainty. Darkness was not only looming, it was already here. The shadows gathered in Coruscant's halls. The Council, wary of Palpatine's growing power, made a fateful choice. They granted Anakin a council seat, but not the rank of Master, and ordered him to spy on the Chancellor. Windu warned that placing Skywalker so close to Palpatine was dangerous, but his voice went unheeded. When news came of General Grievous's death, Windu spoke with Ahsoka Tano about the war's end resting on Palpatine. She pressed him for clarity, but he offered none. That is council business. It was a reflection of the weight of secrets he carried. Soon after, Anakin revealed the final truth. Palpatine was Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord behind the war. With clarity at last, Windu assembled Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, and Agent Kolar to arrest the Chancellor. In Palpatine's office, masks fell. The kindly leader vanished, replaced by Sidious in his full dark power. Lightning and blade clashed. The other masters struck down in moments, leaving only Windu to face the Sith. His Vaapad held, his mastery unmatched, and for a moment he achieved the impossible. Sidious was defeated, weapon torn away. Yet when Windu raised his blade to end it, Anakin intervened. His hand severed, Windu was struck by Sidious's lightning, cast into the abyss. His fall shattered the Jedi Order. Order 66 followed, and the Republic became Empire. But on Ryloth, songs of the hammer endured. In the Force, his voice echoed, lending strength to those who rose after him. Mace Windu's final stand became his greatest legacy, a Jedi who refused to bow to darkness, even at the cost of his life. On Bardata, Mace Windu faced shadows cloaked in ritual and deceit. When Queen Julia and her priests vanished, suspicion pointed to the Frangal cult. Despite the world's mistrust of Jedi, Windu pressed on, following the trail into the heart of darkness. There, he confronted Mother Talzin of the Night Sister. She declared her sorcery greater than his discipline, but Windu's reply cut sharp. Magic is only an illusion. Their battle surged with power, ancient and terrible, but his mastery of Vaapad and the Force overcame her, denying her the energies she sought to consume. Yet victory was not solace. Investigating the death of Sifo-Dyas revealed the truth. The clone army had been commissioned by their enemies. The Council buried this secret, choosing silence over disclosure, even to the Chancellor. For Windu, mistrust became certainty. The shadow around Palpatine thickened, and his suspicions hardened into conviction. Still, on Anaxis, he fought alongside Clone Force 99, the Bad Batch, whose mutations turned them into living weapons of ingenuity. Together, they saved the assembly complex, a fleeting triumph against a backdrop of unease. Victory seemed near, yet in Windu's heart, the darkness pressing in was undeniable. The final campaigns drew Windu further into the storm. His victories on the battlefield could not ease the dread rising in the Council chamber. The decision to grant Anakin Skywalker a seat on the Council, while also tasking him to spy on the Chancellor, unsettled Windu deeply. He warned them, placing Skywalker so close to Palpatine was dangerous. Few listened, and fewer believed. Traditions Windu had once defended now bent beneath the weight of necessity. When talk turned to removing the Chancellor from office, Windu's own words marked how far he had been driven. He argued that the Jedi must hold control long enough to ensure a peaceful transition, a stance he once would have rejected outright. The strictest of traditionalists had been reshaped by war into a man willing to risk precedent for survival. His eyes no longer saw only corruption in the Senate, but the possibility of it collapsing entirely without Jedi guidance. The galaxy, he realized, stood on the knife's edge, and only decisive action could prevent it from falling. Even as his armies pressed the Separatists, Windu's gaze fixed on the heart of Coruscant. Palpatine's power swelled unchecked. The emergency powers of war extended long past reason. The Chancellor showed no sign of stepping down, not even after General Grievous fell. For Windu, the darkness was no longer hidden. It pulsed openly, infecting every corridor of power. In his final military briefings, he spoke with Ahsoka Tano. She had captured Maul on Mandalore, and when she asked him about the war's true end, his words were curt. That is Council business. It was not disdain, but burden. Secrets weighed on him, heavy as stone. Even as his presence inspired Jedi and clones across countless battlefields, within him burned the knowledge that something far greater than armies or fleets threatened them. For all his mastery, for all his foresight, the full shape of the shadow still eluded him. The final days of the Republic had come, and Windu stood braced, yet unknowing, for the moment that would define his life. That moment came with Anakin Skywalker's revelation. Palpatine was no mere politician drunk with power. He was Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord who had orchestrated the entire war. The plot Windu had long since stood revealed in its full horror. With clarity came resolve. He summoned Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, and Agen Kolar. Together they marched into the Chancellor's office, intent on arrest. The mask fell. Sidious revealed himself in unrestrained fury. In a flash of crimson and lightning, he struck down 3 Jedi Masters, leaving only Windu to stand against him. Vaapad met the dark side in its purest form. Their duel shook the chamber, light and shadow colliding in a tempest of will. Windu's blade carved through deception and power alike. At last, he triumphed, Sidious disarmed and cornered. Yet as Windu raised his amethyst blade to strike, Skywalker burst into the room. Torn between loyalty and fear, Anakin acted. His blade severed Windu's hand, and Sidious unleashed lightning that hurled the great Jedi into the void. The fall of Mace Windu shattered the Jedi Order. Palpatine twisted the truth, declaring Windu's attempt to arrest him a coup. Order 66 rang out, and the clones Windu had once led turned on their Jedi commanders. The Republic dissolved into Empire, and Anakin became Darth Vader, apprentice to the darkness. Imperial propaganda branded Windu a traitor, but memory endured. On Ryloth, the people still sang of the hammer, their voices honoring his courage. Years later, Luke Skywalker studied his legacy, recognizing in Windu the foresight and conviction of a Jedi who had stood against corruption even as it consumed the galaxy. In the Battle of Exegol, his voice joined the chorus of Jedi past, lending strength through the Force to Rey in her final stand. Though struck down, Windu's defiance lived on. His life was both warning and inspiration, proof that strength without wisdom can falter, yet strength guided by principle can echo through eternity. In the end, he remained true to the light, even as darkness closed around him. The revelation shattered every veil of doubt. Anakin Skywalker brought word that Chancellor Palpatine was Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord who had orchestrated the war itself. For Mace Windu, it confirmed years of suspicion and unease. He gathered Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, and Ajan Kolder, 4 Jedi Masters walking together into destiny. Their purpose was clear: arrest the Chancellor and end the Sith shadow over the Republic. In Palpatine's chamber, Windu declared the charge. The mask of the politician slipped away, revealing the true face of Sidious. In a storm of crimson blade and dark lightning, Sidious struck down the 3 Masters with terrifying speed, leaving only Windu to face him. Vaapad, the form Windu had created to turn darkness into light, found its greatest test. Their duel raged, power against power, the embodiment of Jedi discipline against the pure will of the dark side. Through mastery and resolve, Windu achieved the impossible. He disarmed Sidious, driving him to the edge, proving that the Sith could be beaten. With Sidious cornered and broken, Windu faced the gravest decision of his life. The Chancellor's hold over the Senate and courts made him too dangerous to leave alive. Raising his amethyst blade, Windu prepared to deliver justice. In that instant, Anakin Skywalker entered, torn by fear and loyalty. Pleading for Sidious's life, he insisted the Sith Lord could save Padme. Windu stood unmoved, knowing the galaxy's future depended on ending this threat. But Anakin's choice sealed their fate. With a desperate strike, Skywalker severed Windu's hand. Sidious unleashed a torrent of lightning, his power no longer restrained. The current consumed Windu, hurling him through the shattered window into the abyss of Coruscant's night. The Jedi champion fell, betrayed not by his enemies alone, but by the very one he had long doubted. The Order's fate collapsed with him. Palpatine wasted no time. Casting Windu's attempt as treason, he declared the Jedi traitors and issued Order 66. Across the galaxy, clones who had fought side by side with their Jedi generals turned their weapons on them. The Republic dissolved in a single breath, reborn as the Galactic Empire, with Sidious as Emperor and Anakin Skywalker reborn as Darth Vader. Windu's death marked the end of an age. Where he had once stood as guardian of tradition and principle, now darkness claimed the Order entire. Yet though propaganda branded him as leader of a coup, memory endured. On Ryloth, the Twi'leks sang of the hammer, recalling the warrior who had brought them freedom. To those who remembered, Windu was not a traitor but a protector. His defiance became legend. Years later, as Luke Skywalker rebuilt the Jedi, he studied the legacy of Mace Windu. In him, he saw both warning and inspiration. Windu had been fierce, unwavering, suspicious of unchecked power, and his doubts about the Republic had proved prophetic. Luke recognized that if Anakin had not intervened, Windu might have ended Sidious's reign before it began. The thought weighed heavily: how different might history have been? Yet Windu's true gift was not only in what he nearly accomplished, but in the example he left behind. Strength tempered by wisdom, power guided by principle, and unbending devotion to justice even when the galaxy stood against him. These were the lessons Luke carried forward as he sought to restore the Jedi way. The end of Mace Windu's story is not silence but echo. On Ryloth, his courage lived in song. In the Force, his voice joined those of the great Jedi who came before, whispering strength to the generation that followed. At Exegol, when Rey faced the reborn Palpatine, Windu's presence was among those who stood with her, a chorus of light against the shadow. Though he fell to betrayal and lightning, he never surrendered his principles. His life stands as both inspiration and warning, that justice must be tempered with wisdom, that vigilance against corruption is vital, and that even the greatest can be undone by trust misplaced. Yet in the end, Mace Windu remained true to the light until the very last breath. His victory was not only in battle, but in legacy, a blueprint for courage and integrity carried through generations. A testament to what it truly means to be Jedi.